So this week I'm going to show you some exercises that use hammer-ons and pull-offs, and this is a way of improving your left hand technique and really strengthening your left hand technique. Now my right hand is not really going to be doing anything here, so this is just an exercise for improving your left hand technique. The only thing that I'm doing with my right hand is just a little bit of string dampening, just to stop the open strings from ringing when I don't want them to. But basically all the work here is being done with my left hand. Now when you're practicing any left hand technique, I would recommend coming up with exercises that involve using 4 fingers, because sometimes when I see people practicing hammer-ons and pull-offs, they do it just using 2 fingers. They do things like this. Now the problem is, if you practice like that, those 2 fingers that you're using are going to get much stronger and much better, and the other 2 fingers that you're not using are going to be relatively weak in comparison. Now that's a really good way to have a bad left hand technique, because if you want to have a good left hand technique, you've got to get evenness between all of your fingers. You've got to be able to use all of your fingers equally. So I would always recommend using all 4 fingers when you practice anything to do with your left hand. The only exception to that is if you have a weak finger, like for example, a lot of people struggle to play notes and hammer-ons, especially with their 3rd finger. So you might want to spend just a little bit of time just working just your 3rd finger on its own, just trying to build up the strength in that 3rd finger. But once you've done that, then go back to using all 4 fingers again. So let me show you a couple of exercises that you can do, and then you can come up with your own ones, because it's not difficult to see that there's loads of different variations you could come up with here. So first one I'm going to do is, it doesn't really matter what frets you use, but I'm going to start on the 4th fret, so I'm going to hammer on with my 1st finger onto the 4th fret of the 1st string, and then I'm going to hammer onto the 5th fret with my 2nd finger. Okay, then I'm going to pull off with my 2nd finger, back onto that 4th fret with my 1st finger, and then pull off back to the open string. Okay, so it's just hammer, hammer, pull, pull. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same between my 1st and my 3rd finger. So hammer, 3rd finger hammers onto the 6th fret, pull off to the 1st finger, pull off to the open string, and then finally hammer on 1st finger, hammer on 4th finger onto the 7th fret, pull off onto the 4th fret, pull off onto the open string. Okay, so it's back to the 3rd finger, back to the 2nd finger. Okay, now it's relatively easy to do these hammer-ons and pull-offs fast, because your right hand's not really doing anything, so it doesn't need to keep up. The difficult thing is not doing it fast, the difficult thing is getting it in time and getting it even. So what I would recommend is putting on a metronome or a drum beat and practicing everything you do in time with a metronome and a drum beat. So here's a drum beat, and I'll play along with it. So just doing that same exercise. Every note very even and in time with that drum beat. Okay, so here's another variation that you can try. So with this one, I'm going to keep my 1st finger held down continuously on that 4th fret, and then I'm going to hammer onto the 5th fret with my 2nd finger and pull off, and then hammer onto the 6th fret with my 3rd finger and pull off, hammer onto the 7th fret with my little finger and pull off. Now I should say at this point, if you want to get those hammer-ons sounding nice and even, you need to make sure you're hammering onto the frets, not in between the frets. That's really important. If you hammer in between the frets, it's going to sound weak. You need to hammer onto the fret, because the note is being created by you hitting the string against the fret. So it's really important to be very accurate with where you're hammering on. Okay, so this is the new exercise we're going to do. So the 1st finger is just staying where it is, it's being held down constantly, and you're hammering on and pulling off with the other 3 fingers. Okay, so I'll put the drum beat back on and we'll play that one. Really concentrate on getting those notes even and in time. So here's a variation that you can do of that last exercise. This time we're going to hold down our 2nd finger. So the 2nd finger is going to be held down continuously on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. Now that's really important. We're holding down the 2nd string now, not the 1st string. But your 1st finger is going to hammer on to the 4th fret of the 1st string like this, and then pull off. And then your 3rd finger is going to hammer onto the 6th fret of the 1st string and pull off, and then your little finger onto the 7th fret of the 1st string and pull off. And it's going to sound something like this with the drums. encourage you to come up with your own variations of all of these exercises, and the most important things to remember are: be very accurate with where you're hammering on. Make sure you hammer onto the fret, not in between the frets, and also make sure you focus on practicing in time. It's not about how fast you can do it. Most people can do this fast. It's about how well you can keep the timing and keeping the notes very, very even. So your hammer-ons and your pull-offs are nice and even. It's not some notes are coming out much louder than the others. Make sure you practice with all 4 fingers, and also everything we've done so far has been on the first string, because the first string is the easiest one to hammer on and pull off. But once you get good at doing that, then practice doing all of these exercises on all of your strings, and it will really improve your left hand technique. I hope you find this helpful.